So you can say that somebody, sorry, just one second. You can say that somebody who is a follower of the Buddha is somebody that is following not only out of mere respect or mere blind faith or blindness, but somebody who is listening to the advice that the Buddha gave. So the Buddha is somebody that gave advice in regards to behavior and the way that we view behavior and our conduct. So somebody that practices this advice, this uncommon or exclusive advice, is a practitioner or a follower of the Buddha.
일단 좀 된디게 삼빌랍샤 따드 예비 삼빌랍샤티 조 카레레스 라운디 더 장된 치야티 로 장부 치야티 세워매워 치야티 대양 아니 지그 따드지기 토네 아니 세워매비 람라야 껴당 그런 바디 랍샤티 좀 된디기다 랍샤 연매는 드레스 인정하면서 디진주 디제순주 walaya 디진주 나네 베 아니 캐버도 파치니 자와다 안에치니 조기요 바이나 학돈 듣더니 아니 좀 된 뒤에 세월매비기 따르 장비그 랍샤티 냠린 최고야디 더 수수 메시지가 남기다 레든 카셰슈 테레스 저 카우드로 카우데나야 지조를 펜바 장부 제투야 덴바 제투야 더디 좀 된 뒤에 진랍레스 디 제투가나 좀 된 뒤에 다 진주레스 디체 마투바나 아니 지금 서로 이제 다시를 좀 그런 로데바 있네요. 오늘 좀 된 뒤에 라우샤들이야. 로마트나 되니 되니도 지레스 로 지단다 야보르데 있네요. 랍 쳔부스키 차고 말레스.
So the Buddha's advice was in regards to the way of thinking, our conduct, and in terms of our view. So the main point of the Buddha Shakyabuddha's advice is to speak and act in an honest way and to not cause any harm. So, in particular, the view or the outlook is not violent, not causing any harm. So, this is the vice of the Buddha Shakyabuddha and especially applicable to the monastics, the monks and nuns that are followers of the Buddha, and their responsibility as monks and nuns, as monastics, is to follow this non-violence approach, this advice. So for their entire lifetimes to be of benefit to society, to think of the help and not harm others. So in this way, as especially as a monastic, one goes forth in an honest and stable way. So this is due to the blessings of the Buddha Shakyabuddha and by following the advice of the Buddha. So even if one does wear the monastic robe, if one does not follow the advice of the Buddha Shakyamuni, even though it is good that one is following, wearing the monastic robe, but your monasticism will not be as profound. Lasula.
더디 임바디 좀 된디 당한 중원이 좀 된디 다 로규 세나 남들래야 심죽지 땅에 진바이나 아니 좀 된디 밑 장부 장장 진바디 로 먼저 산기레스라 먹었지 미지 잠블링 나는 미지긴자 디밑 장부 장장 진바디 세우 쇼진 통도 그래스 좀 된디 기타 아니 कुछ नाम थे लोगी ले जे भाई ना तंग दी जेस जुगी इस्लाम दी नंद ट्राम्बु टांजा देंबा देंजा लागदों दुची त ठवा आनी जिम भाई ना जो दी संगी देंबा जिंगों पेल्सम चिंगिंजी इंस लगुयो रोस रो संगी देंबा दी 아니 송겹 칭이 산기 템버디 아니 규rum부 니야기 체도 아니 배준 칭이 아니 디토니 심전 탐jelaya 펜디 두고 냠비기 꼴롱여ങ്ങി지 라 넘버 산기비기 아니 임바 디난 태고 침비기 따지 아니 겐딘 아니 직 좀마다 랍숑 틴디지 임바이나 아니 샘띵이야 디고기어레스 장부 뎀바 템버질 행이 산기 템버디 유르무 네발이야 아니 지 무슈 균숨 그토니 아니 배준 제통인지 아니 땡기버도 고고레스
So if you look at the biographies or the Buddha Shakyamuni in history, you can see that the Buddha Shakyamuni was among the beings that have entered our world, was somebody who was honest and upstanding. Yeah, you can see that he was directly and straight down the line, very honest and upstanding person. So then when we speak in terms of being a monk or a nun, a monastic, the role of that monastic is to follow the Buddha's advice and act in accord with the Buddha's advice by acting honestly and in an upstanding manner. So not only that, but it's also the role of the monastic is to make effort and practice and protect the Buddha Dharma with the motivation to be a benefit to all sentient beings. And this is especially in terms of the teachings of the Mahayana or the creative vehicle. So this from the depths of one's heart as a Sangha member is to be a benefit to all living beings in the context of the Mahayana or the greater vehicle. So if these conditions arise and exist, then the Buddha Dharma can remain for a long time and be preserved for a long time. But there needs to be an effort made in order for this to happen. Lazula.
nganzu chawa cheyati nganzu chawa cheya ani cheyati zochi khares na chomde di jesu juk thugya che jinju nemaji chaya chedo chawa da ani chegores ra chawa da ani chesa vijila chona be chunjung kone 아니 춘중 권에 자와다 안에 제도가나 괜찮지에 연구열에서 간스나 춘중 권에 자와다 안에 제사에 제라 니 남이 세야지기 랑이 사다 니 부고 직 세야기 딘디기베 아니 착단 초르 숙cham부 제고사기 아니 율코란 레기 말에서 디말레디 아니 란싱기 자무 제투야기 lamga jela ya le ro gores ro ta susu pugu phutu yo ba na ro susu pugu phutu yo ba na ta phama di ani ta rangsing kola ya chakshin che yung yo ra di ka yo ma ra ro susu shada ni chebi ani phoda phomo ina ta thela chakshin yung ro ro 다 내가 착신 슉 전부 여봐이나 되니 착신 디왕기 아니 자와 가르치나야 전부 제만 또야지 차로 버렸어 디카요 말했어 디피기 착단 초리 왕기 송바레 마도 미코랑 란신 베 마타와 딘디케자 말했어 착단 초리 디 samlo din ga tu bai na pang tu bai na ani miti chawa kar che bai na ya chamu tanjang tola ya ro tu gyo res tinzang anzu chawa da ani che godun zu di chambu tanjang che demba denjang pigi ani che tungin chi chom den di jinju na ma jiwa ya che do anzu rab tu chomar was
So, as a monastic, as a monk or nun, then the main purpose is to follow the advice of the Buddha Shakyamuni. So, if somebody has ordained from a young age, then they especially have a greater responsibility because they don't have a responsibility to look after or take care of any children or young people. They can leave that aside. Whereas those people that do have children, and of course, naturally, they will be feeling a sense of bias or attachment relating to those children, their own children. Whereas if a monastic does not have this responsibility, then they can remain focused and remain honest and upstanding without a danger of any bias or attachment creeping into your way of thinking. Yeah. So naturally, as a parent, somebody that does have children, there's going to be an instinctive level of attachment and bias, and then possibly the danger of creating some dishonesty in terms of protecting those children. Yeah. Whereas in a monastic, especially someone from a young age that does not have the responsibility of children, is able to remain in an upstanding manner and without the encouraging of any attachment or bias. So this is what the Buddha Shakyamuni mainly taught in terms of the monasticism and that way of life. Lazula.
그다 딘자 간지 좀 된 디기다 따르드 카레스 라운디 장부 메바디 장부 마지와디 차바딜야 아니 차바 마론 was 미기 was 잔댕기 차바딜야 게위 차was 로 레 게와세 차와디 레세 데와디 차와질라고 하레스 로달레 게와다 미기위 쳬바디야 장부단 덴바지기 토네 차와직 치여바나 콜론 딘디지기 토네 차와직 치여바나 아니 레디 레게바리스 레드 게와 아니 데부 데반 종인게 안 레드 차고레스 다 장부 메비 차와지긴 바나 레드 메기와레 디 데불라 둥가 용구요레스 어디레다 데두키 데부 칸드지긴 바나 레라데니 총아레스 레테야 랑기 제비기 레라데니 총아레 마도 미셴기 제비기 레기 데부 둥가디 소수 용고야지 사바니니 요마레스 디 좀된 디기다 랍샤디 디레다스라
So the Buddha Shakyamuni taught specifically about the advice and the conduct and the view. So he taught in terms of virtuous actions and non-virtuous actions. So, and that is explicitly talking about the presentation on the law of karma, the law of cause and effect. So when we speak of karma, it literally means actions. Yeah. So an action that has got a honest or an upright motivation has got a result of happiness. Yeah. It's a positive or a virtuous karma. And then conversely, if it is a non virtuous motivation, then the result is suffering. Yeah? So the result of happiness or suffering, it really does depend on the result of karma. Yeah. And that karma is something that depends only on oneself, and we never experience the result of another person or other's karma. So this is what the Buddha Shakyamuni advised. Lasula.
디레다 nganzu mitzilaya lendek tolaya samtang wainza ko kaduyna tadingi le khandar sajena samsam ki choji yungodas ben ngal yashi jado dileg dosra tachi susu le khari chewaina ya samjala ya tachi gogen soroj da tela kanga roj cheyada tachi yungura dindi khabdula tadingi te ngarangi le jebujida ri sambi choji ngal yashi jado wayes ता यिम्बाइना लेतिंगे खद्दु सारे काने सारे खडजिन सारे लाबाइना अनि 신도 고기ren도 ngala 로 아니 다디 당이 뒤수 딘디질이야 롬바 딘디질이야 아니 자원 딘디 제비게 아니 제부드 다당알 민바리 삼비게 디 비기 갈서다 네바도디 니마투디 제 가려서나 아니 샥담 치야지 로 nge khandaj sa yo ba ne ya di ro ani ti tha ba shows da di tha bi che to tini ji ani nimbu to shi go ne da nganzu shagdam che ya ge samdang je ro du samdang gi yes ro su su chawa sambu ji che go sam ne ka ko ya go yin che do ro ani chawa ja chimbu che go sam ne ka ko go yin che da din go yin che ya di ken da phili yung go yor da ina gyu so ji su su ani kewang hamige sendela sayo wainandra ani kewang hamala sayo wainandra kewang ngama pe lombum gyur mambu kone sayo wa kanji lej sayo badi gyacha gyatam bari asambige ani kaswada ngebadodi ani semla yungudo asarwa ngala yungudo asar ani ngeji samba namda chewaina chambu tranje chewaina 단다 자와들은 고기인다 정도에 다딩이 레 칸다로 싸잖아서 나디 삼땅 게스
So we can think about in our life, what type of karma do we actually have? We can reflect about what a good and bad karma that we have. Geshe himself has thought about this regularly. Yeah. What type of karma have we accumulated? Especially when we meet with difficulties and problems, we can think about what is the karma that we have previously accumulated. But the answer to that is what is classified as a hidden phenomena. But we can feel that this is something that exists. We can think about, when did I accumulate this particular karma? How did I do it? But the answer to that is something that is exceptionally hidden. Yeah, it's very difficult for us to perceive and answer those questions directly. Yeah. But we can see and we can develop a sense of conviction in that law of karma because we experience the ripening results of that karma. Yeah. So, and we can reflect about, how do we accumulate? We must have accumulated that specific karma at some stage in the past. So as we are reflecting on that, we can develop that conviction, but we can rely on the four opponent powers when we can confess our negativities and we can purify any negative karma that we've accumulated by relying on these four opponent powers. So thereby we can understand that that through certain conditions, we experience the results of karma and the results of karma that has been accumulated in this life or past lives or many past lives, many former lives. So perhaps we accumulated that particular karma 100,000 lives earlier. But this is something that is a very hidden phenomena that we're unable to directly perceive. But we can still develop a conviction that that karma has indeed been accumulated. So Geshe himself, he thinks about this regularly and he develops a feeling of certainty about the presence of karma. Lasula.
걔네들 lava inada kenza roji do mado ngakabgala pen thana shogiro nga chuzni di chega ya langis nga ya lang ningi lamsa ani tongsha tindinde cha se ani chi nge ta chi tserap mambo ngone sa shabige ani chi ani le megi wa khanya bati ani chi 다야기 쳐들어 아니 대시시발 하수 주성이 체 아니 담에 토네 차세 아니 벤 두스 지기였디 디안 삼번 남다 이마도 나쇼기 미수지야 말랑고 야라니 아니 삼번 남다면 니 지기 말아서라 삼번 남다 지기였어
So you may feel that this might be something strange that I do, but occasionally Geshe gets up at 2:30 in the morning. He wakes up very early and immediately he thinks to make confession and to purify, and he makes his prostrations. So all with the wish to purify the non-virtue that he has accumulated in his many past lives. Yeah. And he also makes prostrations while reciting the names of various Buddhas. Yeah. So Geshe up before anybody else gets up with a very pure motivation, gets up and does these things from time to time. Listen.
만아주 술라 이엠바이는 야로 아 대와 동할 가리 총바이느냐 디 랑기 아니 할사샤비 레질라 때니 규조디 할사샤비 레질라 때니 총 여바디 야시갸다 버리스 간스 좀 된디디 디 냄부친 소요레스 디 치당 좀 된디 깔에 딱지 지고 세지요레스 딱지 지당 깔에 좀 된디 소야디 균생 가리요메 덴바 가주스 이메기 제바 약 제도 봐나 균생도 제바 또 투게지 용거레스 디치니 좀 된디 송래야 딱지 지고 송야 균생 소디 데려와서라 딘자 디또 투바이나 라 대와 동할 간르 총바디 랑기 렐라텐 종구 요바디 또 투바이나 님마 테니 송디
for the celebrities with the best and hello.
Dice. This is our karma to experience the some extra sound. So they took any Suzuki le any this the lapchaki que pasó re. Я почуки минто гача Geshe gача. Hello. That's here. Hello.
양gel라 거래.
Thank you. Rubs.
이야야 dire 간징 안줄이야 대와 둥할 가리 총박이나 디 랑킹 할사샤비 레르텐 총이바디 야시야단 말이스. 디 임바디 아니 좀된디 송여다이냐 송라야 딱지 체네 임비 균센디 소수 네바니야지 체토바이나 아니 니마 데니 송니 캐랑게 레 게와 체발이야 베준 체토그리 레 메게와 체발이야 까돔 체토고요레스 아니 디니 손니 마웅발이야 드니 캐랑게 아니 데와니 덴롤 드로야게 아니 규지 트투야다 아니 둥허 땐니 빵투야게 아니 지사도 디 쑥투드요레스
So we can see that whatever happiness and suffering that we experience is something that has been caused or comes about due to karma, the law of cause and effect here. So we need to actually rely on the Buddha's word for this. But in general, we encourage people to examine and reflect about what the Buddha is teaching. But in this context, we need to take the word of the Buddha about the law of cause and effect. Because based on the Buddha's own understanding, then yes, we do need to examine and reflect in general, but the purpose of what the Buddha Shakyamuni is advising us is for us to experience happiness and to avoid suffering. We must make effort in cultivating those causes for happiness and to abandon the causes for suffering. So then we can develop a conviction. Yeah, we can develop a conviction that all the experiences of happiness and suffering that we have are due to our own accumulation of karma. So, 거기 두 개.
뜻은 각도
This 거기도.
뜻은 각도
거기도. Hello. Did you hear what I said, or do you need me to repeat? 인지 얘기를 기억을 해.
뜻이 gör나야 체도 다네
So, tanda sarbu tuge. Tanda ni ngeke sarbu tuge. 거기 tuge. ngama ni yabutu.
야구 공부도
ane. ngama ni yabuminto. It says chat raisings. Institute network bandwidth is low. In him.
genetic problem. She said genetic problem.
Yeah.
Hey Jen, I'm changing network to see if this helps us.
It was good before.
Yeah. Let's see now how it goes.
Okay. Hello.
Yes, so good.
Good.
Hello? Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, is that the main purpose of what the Buddha Shakyamuni is teaching is that we need to understand that our experiences of happiness and suffering are due to our accumulation of our own individual karma. Yeah. And in general, it is encouraged to examine using reasoning and logic. But in this case, regarding the law of cause and effect, we need to follow the Buddha's advice in terms of we must make effort of accumulating virtue and abandoning the non-virtue. That's all.
들다 지다 딘디기 더 장딩기 레슨은다 기위 레슨은다 디 아니 제투게라야 자와 장부디 제투게라야 아니 꼴홍다 마소나 아니 무니스 똑투비기 아니 셰럽드 고도스라 산기 주 대부치 니래 대부치 주 니게 나눠려야 아니 셔럽디 쉐남기 내룩도비 셔럽디 개체슈진 송여레스 대바 멤비기 주 선한다 비게 라니 지부 동할레 타비 아니 타르바 된딩이 간사 소인 바이나야 동할 göda jeba pambige nimbo di dameba tomba nyongsom tobe ishi dires didgi bala bezun chigi yores didgi bigi chedu tin tsudrum son yalla soba ro ani tösum konsum chela soba di chigi yores de teba chembigi ani 심전 탐지기 체도 산지 공부토비 아니 탑 아니 산지 공부토발이야 파르도 중에 게 아니 시지르 봐 본식 님부 초도 줘봐야 동반 인공성도 이시디 차거래스 데 디게야 체도 시지르비 님부 동반 인공성도 이시게야 체도 되니 제소 파신 주기 아니 줘발이야 라고요래스 돌드나 태버 체중 이기 아니 주디 최남긴 내루 동반인공성 도비 이시디 계열이야 배준치고스 간스나 디치 계투바나 아니 테니 손이다 자와 메기와 지야기 로 자와 마장와 지야기 고르도 마선 삼까르고요레스
So we can see that the presentation of the law of cause and effect or karma is really if one is accumulating the positive karma, virtuous karma, it depends on one's motivation, yeah. And conjoining that with the realization that sees the reality as it actually is, yeah, which is what is called wisdom. So among the Hidayata and also the Mahayana, this understanding of wisdom, the understanding of the true nature of reality is something that is indispensable. So in terms of the Hidayata or the lower school vehicle, then that is in terms of the personal liberation that is striving to generate the view that sees the selflessness, yeah. So they make effort in order to generate this view. They practice ethics, they study, reflect, and meditate in order to generate this view of realizing selflessness. And then in terms of the Mahayana, or the greater view, then with the motivation to be of achieving enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings, then the practitioner relies on the remedy for removing the obscuration to omniscience by generating wisdom that realizes the true nature of reality, and also practicing the conduct of these 6 perfections, yeah. So, but mainly we have the practice that are generating this view of wisdom that sees the true nature of reality. Yeah. And whereas if we continue in a dishonest way, accumulating non-virtue and so forth, we will not only not enter the door, but it will become but it will be completely blocked off, and all of the results will be completely blocked off. Lazula. Yeah. Yep. It's very smooth.
Dirda ro 단다다 무연의 수셋 동반이 슬라운디 조디 아니 무비 내룩시거레스 라 유기 내룩생 시거라서 내룩시당라야 초직니 라왕기 동바레스 라왕도 주비요 말레스 아니 직시에고도 와서라 야 초직니 나왔다 주비요 말레스 라 ngaran solaya 나왔다 주비요 말레스 나와도 트비어 마레스 라원디 디게 안주게 착당 고야라야 펜도 빼치무 연구였어레스 만주 망치야지 착당기에디 랑라야 나와디 뎀바 인삼비 소술라 칸나마디 다가란 뎀바 인삼성기 만주 로직기치 아니 디시송기 아니 탁주는 로샤가 와라서 만주 망부지 디기 만주라야 아니 강가 망부지 책도 왔어라 소수 나와 나신기고 뎀바 인삼는 로온디 소소 나와 나신기 약부 인삼는 로온디 아니 피구무였을래 소소 나와 나신지 메디sambal라 데니 강가 책도 왔어라 소소 나와 나신지 트위어바나 베나 소소라 깨제 약부직 시야바나 아니 디 내급수 아니 깨제 생이 미디 아니 또 약부 쇼지 통그러 왔어 간스나 그 깨제디 깨지네 미디 소소 약부 쇼지 통그러 왔어 대시소 다가랑기 미디 약부 레스 라바이나 랍투에 요 말았어 간스나 제마 깨제 소소 나와 먼저지 깨제 시야바나 미디 두자 레스 라고 왔어 디 내급수 미드 두자 통과라 딘사 미드 두자리 야부레스 니가 레스 랍투 말아서 디치디기 랑라야 나와 난시 트비오 말세디 nenga 쇼저레스 딘사 가드 임바이나 양아주 제버시고야디 소소라 나와 난시지 누 문두 제버 마치고 다가라 탁진 만들어지 제버시야디 아니 배마스바 계시무 차고 왔어레스 산지 송나 나한테 맞춰서야지 쉬우지 nenden진 송여러 왔어.
So regarding the true nature of reality, or what we call emptiness, the presentation or the view of emptiness is mainly referring to the way that phenomena are abiding. Yeah. So if we're able to realize this directly, if we're able to see directly the way that phenomena are actually abiding, then we will be able to realize this presentation on emptiness or the actual nature of reality. So this is from two directions or two perspectives. We've got there are empty phenomena or empty of an independent or inherent self, and they are and from another direction they are empty of inherent or independent conditions. Yeah. So but if we just remain with an undiscriminate view that we haven't thought about and reflected about how things appear to us, we just accept the appearance to be truly existent there. Yeah. Whereas if we analyze it and think about it, then we can come to the conclusion that the true nature of its arising, its appearance, is something that is dependent. Yeah. So, but if we don't analyze this appearance and just accept that to be true, then we take that as a basis and we go forth and use that in our daily lives. Yeah. And we accept the appearances to exist truly, then on this basis we experience difficulties and suffering. Yeah. Since we don't realize the true nature of reality, then we have to experience the suffering and dissatisfaction. So it's like somebody that we are having a conversation with, that we do not like them and we have a feeling of disliking towards them. Yeah. So we won't be able to say that say that they're a good person because we have this preconceived view of disliking them. But we need to be able to see their true nature, their true reality, in order to say if they're good or bad. So this is why it's very important to cultivate this unmistaken view of reality, whereas usually we just go about and accept the appearances without analyzing the way they actually exist. So it's actually very important to reflect and analyze these appearances. Let's go.
Min looks shy or was ra. Penanganzugi Rick Abojilaya, Mixe Penangombojikan Devana, Rick Abu Dog Ngombu Tongrawas, Ngombu Nangrawas. The D negos any piggy tan, Rick Abu Inaya, Sosula now Ngombu Naya di Mixe tea to now race ambigi, and in Samlaya Nibaji Yungras. Ra. D negos Nanga or Mado, now that Truban Zingio Marawas. The Cabo Resam go Marawas. Cabo Naya di Mishake to now Resam Yoras. Tangansu let Hambu negos Piggy Kan now the Udin Truba Nama Tartu. Udin Yobat Lola Shingor, Tangansu let Hambo Shingoras. T Maribi and Marigbi. Chenamji Nelula Shinjulo Shubi. Marigbi Wangi. Nangi order in Yanganzu, Maribango Masindi, Maribi Nangi Yobango Masindi, you quarantine, Tagaran do Sambigi, and Shambadi Layungures. That tea, Tagje Chini, you Korangi, you dini, you met Jeva Chini, Tagje Chevana, you dini, true Mevainza, true Mevadi, never near you to worries. Tang never near Kaptula Tinishi, Yanga. And Maribi Wangi, Niyul, Dindij Nanga Doa Sambigi, and then Nishiji Yontu Yosares. Ranganzu Diko Gosares.
So, for example, we can take a white cloth or white piece of material and we can put on a pair of glasses that have a blue lens. And that white cloth is appearing as a blue cloth or having a blue color. Yeah, even though we know that the white cloth is in fact white, but due to the power of the glasses lens, the blue glasses lens, the appearance of that white cloth is actually blue. Yeah, but as a beginner, in terms of somebody that is a beginner, we don't question and we mistakenly accept the appearance, in this case, of the white cloth, but actually being blue. Yeah. So as a beginner, we accept this as being a blue cloth. Yeah. And this is due to our ignorance or our confusion of that the appearance is exactly as it appears, yeah, and we accept this as something that is true, and we not question it or analyze it. But we need to look at the very object, the very nature of the object, and we need to analyze the way that it is actually established there. And when we look and we examine that, we will find, well, actually, we will not be able to find an actual true existence there. It'll be unfindable. Yeah. But this is due to our ignorance that we just accept the appearance of that object. Yeah. And this is a mistaken perception. Whereas in reality, in fact, we need to analyze the very nature of that object. Let's do that.
Tajidan Mambu Son, Tajana, Single Chicina, Manzu True Jushi on the Manzu Trushi Gigora, 추시 기위 규시 온디 아니 규문다 mamule 거라스라 나주 깝치려야 빼나 나주 람가 니야 모자는 여보 로와이나 아니 람가 술구 신도즈 여보 유대유를 통과라 난거라서 에 깝치려야 나주 단다 단다 베비 멘션 나올래 딜라와다 배전 나올래 요리 치바 나온디 미디 치바 나사 치바 슈침부 나온디 미디 수부거라 세부 차로 거래스 미 수부 세부 차로 미 긴간주 미 까보디 세부 세장 차로 거래스 데니 슈침부 차온디기 아니 소수 강 통화디 아니 세번 통과 거래스 나체왕 이제 당간주 추위규 아니 드라마다 율 토니 용구요리 아니 땡 왕부 시비 토니 아니 추위규 용구요레스 로 테마타징기 토니 추위규 시온디 아니 마리발라 소베 로 마리발라 소베 아니 레치는 간주 시바 레치니 아니 추나지 기요레스 아니 나체 왕기 양간주 나체 왕기 아니 추와지 기요레스 나 pena semkom trudia kon damadan tondeada ridela sobodini yunguyoras ani ya tanda yug chani an dindi kanji chui gyu mambu shu yunguyoras da dozu sama chipachi setu bana ani lo zawani ni mantrubi lo zamaji sherabji kitu bana yulmuyen zu kain badun tongores 유무연에서 가인번 통 덴번 통온디 덴번 통온디 꼴론 디 왕기 차와 가르치 봐나 아니 전부도 덴바세도 차가도 왔어.
So in reality, so in actual fact, there are actually many different types of mistaken causes, yeah, or mistaken causes. So you can take, for example, that when somebody is driving along a highway very quickly, then the perception is that the trees are passing very fast, very quickly. Yeah. So in reality, they're not actually moving very fast, but your perception is that the trees are moving fast. And another example from a medical perspective is that there's when somebody is suffering from jaundice, that one's liver, I think, one's liver is suffering from jaundice and is creating the perception, and when it's very strong, the perception, and one is able to see everything as yellow. Everything appears as yellow. So this is another cause for a mistaken perception. So this is due to the very strong jaundice that one is experiencing. So, and there's also from a physical perspective, the organ sense perceptions due to an immediately preceding cause that is mistaken, then the mistaken perception or appearance is also going to be mistaken. So there's various causes that will create a mistaken appearance. Yeah, so it can be through the physical sense organs, or it could be due to diseases and disturbances of the physical elements within one's body, and from the perception of the objects can also be the causes of this mistaken appearance. So if we can remove all of those causes, all of those mistaken causes, and develop it genuine wisdom, then see the true nature of reality, yeah, then whatever we'll be able to on that basis of generating that wisdom, then conjoined with a good motivation, then our conduct will becoming very honest and upstanding. That's all.
들딘자 좀 된디기 따와디 먼저 추와 세야기 탑식 지레스 먼저 추시 먼저라야 로 추와 줘라 로 록시 로
건다 gotcha. That's 얘기스러운 건다.
좀 된디기 따와디 로 추와 세야기 탑식 지레스 탑식 지레스 로 추위 왕기 되샤 레고리 샤단 레고리 디 왕기 세위 차와 지기어라서 들어 띵한중 무슨 통과했던 잠블리 나와라야 단다다나 망투 가주스 갸게 망투 갸야기 싸와 참아 착단 투여라서 착단 투여라서 근데 착단 세야기 탑지 이어봐나다 또 공예진 차고라 다 뒤즈들이야 간주 착단 세야기 탑지 이어반다 디 공예진 차고라서 다 착단 세야기 탑디 아니 송인데 좀 된 데에 맞으시 뭐 수치 이어 말아왔어 좀 된 데 펩스 위젤 좀된 데 진주 속이 진주 네모 속이 땅 공부를 yap슬 소바 아니 지 아니 라마tun가 yap슬 소바 아니 겨울은 뭐sello 소바로 디디다 아니 좀된 데 따줍디 아니 권한수야 아니 냠슬래 아니 개반이 아니 마 아니 진주 솔 라브기어 마도 델리 셴비 아니 좀된 데 나생기 차단 세기 세 여바다 아니 세비 탑된 퉁인지 로 잠을 총여 말아왔어.
So the view that the Buddha Shakyamuni taught was the views that are able to remove these mistaken minds. Yeah. So due to these mistaken minds, then one develops these disturbing or afflictive emotions such as anger, attachment, jealousy, competitiveness, and so on. And you can see in our world that the wars that are being conducted or engaged in are really due to attachment and anger. Yeah. So the Buddha Shakyamuni was the one. Nobody else has spoken about the methods in order to remove these mistaken minds. Yeah. So, and the followers of the Buddha Shakyamuni, such as the great master Nagarjuna and his heirs, the great master Lama Tsongkhapa and his heirs, and followers of the Buddha Shakyamuni, like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, they are all discussing about these methods to remove these mistaken minds in the same way that the Buddha Shakyamuni did. And there was no other in this world that has spoken specifically about methods to do this. Nasula.
데르딘자 대좀데 있지나 송망부 쇼르데 있느냐 동리 댐비기 송 아니 뇽슈 아니 고대슈 첼럽 체슈디 셰르님보세 차고레스 셰르님보 디테스직 장투 디토 상원스 땅투바나 자세자담 수수메세나 편도 쉬우용 그래스 메세 데마세 아니 깨워치마 켈랭이지나 깨워니 깨워준이다 편톡슈 약슈디 셰르님보다 차고레스
So the Buddha Shakyamuni, in general, he gave a lot of different diverse teachings, but explicitly on the topic of emptiness, he gave a very concise, a very precious, and a very easy to understand discussion on the presentation of emptiness in the Heart Sutra. Yeah. So if one is able to recite the Heart Sutra, then this will be of great benefit in this life and also in future lives.
nganzu 벽이 라만 개바치기 성열에서라 셰럽님부디 촉지라샤 잠블링기 규자라도 촉지라샤바나 아니 셰럽님부거는 단디 라그 말레스 잠블링기 규자라티 이게 셰럽님부거는 단디 뇨토고 말레스 라 셰럽님부 냠내진 디기는 단디기 아니 잠블링 코란 아니 시딜레 트윈투야기 란단디 셰럽님부를 요레스 라 केवन दिसमासी केवन केव जुन पेंदो चेतुयागी निबदी अनि शरमनिबु तोने रागयोरेस जम्बलिंगी जुचालाकी अनि से दिगी तोगु तमसम सम्मादो खान चितुगु योमारोस ओ दिसों योरेस दि उनी चेबा चेबान डावरोजरेस देंबाजी योरतास रो.
So one great Tibetan Lama, one great Tibetan teacher said that if you put the entire world's great resources on one side of the desk, then and put the other side the Heart Sutra, and you compare the value of those two, then the value of the Heart Sutra would be much greater than the entire world's resources, the value of the entire world's resources, yeah. Because the benefit of the Heart Sutra is something that is benefit from life after life after life, yeah. So whereas the value of the world's resources is a benefit only in this single life, yeah, in name and reputation and so on, it's only a benefit in this single life. So you can see that this is really very true. That's all.
제가 잠블이나 다 대산 잘라 다 공치슈도서 아니 바르제도 소리도 왔어.
바르제?
바르제 밤 라고 그래.
밤 그래.
저 나디 이지터 신경에 가서
도지 발람?
야 두텐 천차.
또 알레온 라서 okay nuclear
라서 두텐 천차 민카레.
nuclear bomb. Nuclear bomb.
마스 로송 마못 딴 거라. 로송 때 돌아 밀린 텐범 진딴 거라서. 도솔 뉴바 카리어스나. 도솔 뉴바 카리어를 나와나. 또리아 그 뉴바지모도 셴바카에 메와서. 롬바 또리아 미세야 캉바 또리아 taji mi mambu mi mumtra mambu rosa ke sambato toria lokhan toria ke niba ma to keme was ra ani sherav nyembo sama lo thundi cheya nam chen soya zambali shede soya ke niba sama sherav nyembo tonne ra gores didi samaj tanda be yamsen bo yores ra.
So, for example, in this world, the most expensive thing, the most expensive resource is that of a nuclear bomb. Yeah, you can see that governments spend millions and millions of dollars on acquiring these nuclear bombs. And what is the capacity? What is the power of these nuclear bombs? It's only to destroy countries and buildings and millions of people. The only thing that it is good for is of destroying and harming others, yeah? So whereas on the other hand, when we take the Heart Sutra, it is of only a benefit to others and to increase one's wisdom, one's intelligence, and to create world peace. Yeah. So this is something that is very, useful and positive. That's what.
Tira da duzu sonja duzu songen zu kononla karıyor. 꼴롱 가르에서는 또리아지기 체도 선도 왔어. 더 속이어라. 꼴롱디 펜토야기 체도 랑 샴파미아 그 꼴롱 딘디지기 토니 선전도 속이어라서. 그래서 꼴롱디 아니 세와 메비 꼴롱지 제투기야마 세와 메비 꼴롱지 여반 디자와 니니 소사 말았어. 그래서 사회 제라 텔라양 아니 년가지마도 펜토레지엠도 년가랜도 수수자는 토르는 년가 미시함바쌈 토르는 년가 잔자랜도 asra imba inayata ani chi mise mambu zan te mambu de pesha mambu shule droson de pigi ani zambali toria gi chala sojawan di lo mambu shore da asra inai me mambu shu sogoras te garesana maribi ani lo maribi on the cursondi ani did chado was the low maribi jamant maguriagi tapchi yabadi sherem mu jane deres tandan zambali nalola lo maribi jamant maguriagi tapchi yabadi sherem mu jane dereshas timato yomares ro yasijata mo yomares.
So let's take a look at the motivation of the people that create these nuclear weapons. The motivation is not something that is wishing to be of benefit to others. It's actually to destroy others. For the ones that are throwing or engaging in that war, for them to be victors and for the others to be losers. Yeah. So you can see the motivation is very harmful and very violent. And it's really only in order to create a dangerous situation. Yeah. And also the amount of money, the expenses and difficulty that is used in order to acquire them and store them and so forth. You can develop a really a strong sense of being disheartened, but we can think about that due to their mistaken views, due to their ignorance, that they are going about these particular activities. Yeah. But whereas if we take and we study the Heart Sutra, then this is the very method in order to remove that ignorance, those mistaken views. And we can be certain about that this is the method, if we study the Heart Sutra, is the method to remove those mistaken views, that ignorance. That's
아니 제바체바이나 추그른탄 추그른탄도 통투자리스 라 추그른탄도 통투바나 아니 추체발이야 가발레그레스 트롤레그레스 아니 디체도 뒤주땅 투그레스 만나가서 추체체도 뒤주땅 투문다 라 비기 단지 니만님 내가디 아니 쇼르고도 삼성로데 니만님 빼샤 용야디 아니 경라로도 삼성로지 마도 아니 추그른탄디 통투문다 디카요 말아서 these children tan the sambayna children tan the tongbayna teni chawa ke chong adi le tan tuyachi ani ke chewa di drup tuyadi yungu yorwas ra dingung ki otama samak dini sungdos.
So if we analyze, we can see the value in the Buddha Dharma. Yeah. And if we can come to see the great value in the Buddha Dharma, then this will develop a great sense of joy and cultivate delight in practicing the Buddha Dharma. And therefore, we will make more time in order to study and reflect on the Buddha Dharma. But if we don't really understand the great value of the Buddha Dharma, then work comes time's up and we don't have time, or we have fear that if we don't do the work, then we will have a loss of income. But yes, of course, then this is something that is important, that we do need to work and fulfill our activities and responsibilities. But if we can see the great value in the Buddha Dharma, then we can give up those less important activities or behaviors, conduct, and then we can increase our study and reflection on the Buddha Dharma. So many great holy beings have spoken and advised in this way. Nasula.
Teribina Namasanji Chernalaya, Chevachi, Yavarunji Songuyore, that sending the Tumba Dindi Yunguyores, the Karisna, Dutin Duzutolia, Chevashuchiores, Ra, Dulg Tolia, Dulgungon, Dulg Triptan, any Chashela Soba, Tindi Tolia, Chevashuchiores, Ra, and yeah, Dulgi, any Karsota, Nubag Tola in Bainaya, Ra, Kanakanzu Cheva Yores. Gombulugi Meng Shontin Zayors, men. Men di Piggy Tajik and the Tsud Me Mambuj, Nuba Mambuj to Nyam the Tion Digi, and it dig call a pingy Yamela Sova, men Jordan Dozo, and Gombulu Sil Shu Sonyores. Imba Dutin Pena Chinju Ni Sondi, Tinilaya Shukazu Yomegi, Keja the Chishe Mares. Dulce bena dulchunju jiga nga su nyamdu tsowana kolaya shu kazu yomeda karutor tugu yome dindigi kecha tsikche yomares yacha jadama konamba kenda kengo yigires rwa ina ya she yomares da di she bayina digi nyenga chagdo da rwa di shu di dulchun duni shukze karu yome karutor tugu yome la soba di she ondi dini toriyaga samlo digi das din namasanji shonla she yomares.
So, for example, in the Buddha Dharma, you can say that the Buddha Dharma itself, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, has said regularly that it is in accord with what scientists are explaining and talking about. So, for example, from the perspective of an atom, scientists examine the parts of an atom, the nature of the atom and how the atom is established, for example, and from the Buddha Dharma perspective, the great master Nagarjuna in a medical text explained about the very same thing, the nature of the atom and the way that putting atoms together can have medicinal benefits and so forth. But Nagarjuna, he never mentioned in his medical text that when an atom is split, that the power or the energy that is given rise to. Now, the Nagarjuna never mentioned anything like that. But Geshe feels certain that Nagarjuna would have been well aware of the potential energy of what would come from splitting atoms. But if he were to mention this and the outcome of destruction that would happen from this, then this would not be in accord with the Buddha Dharma and the teachings of the Buddha. Yeah, that's all.
And Lubin Cholan the Chudas Nahakura.
Choklang Din Naga and Chada and Dawa and Chandagiri.
Yeah, but Dagaran Chandagiri Mart. Dawa Tavasan
the Chandagiri. And the
Cholan Chuda Carson is Ani Nansu, Ani Nilu Demban Tonya di Kicha Remado, Tagrimbu Ton Tugmatu di Kichimu Mares. Can Tagrimbu Ton Guguyavana, Chagu Sajor, Chagu Sajora. Chagu di pet kilometer Tonta Mambugi, Sala Yubigi, 아니 지 심진기 아니 롤러 소본 통고를 세버더라. 아니 걔랑 자그 기위신일 때는 자그를 기위신일 때는 걔랑 티셔스 드리송여레스 아 안저들은 안저들이 타와드 탐진 김비 고문 등을야 타 린동을 캐버스 케어 말에 딘지민 통과해서 케어 말에스 좋은 통과에 내륙 통과 그래서 내륙 통과에는 마리고 도그리 마리발 때니 대자세단 띠물을 써버 도도 그래 안 타와드 탐진 김비 토도 디소레마도 타 린문 통만도 디 캐버스 케어 말에스 송여레스라 딘자 타 린문 통만도 되다 드체니 초바는 코니라야 아니 슈 가주에메 거디 아니 아 야갈 케비 손나라야 티 손요 마레스 콘슨 캥거 어데네 손요 마 디 하고바이나 아니 미로 차단 초리쟁기 미디 아니 배제 체제네 아니 샹라야 너지 체야기 닌가 차도 왔어 딘디 야지야다 마이서 지 손요 마레스
So great masters like Ditnaka and Chandakruti, they spoke about the importance of actually realizing the true nature of reality, seeing the true nature of reality as being the most important thing. So if somebody but they never spoke about the importance of the ability to see long distances or very short or up close distances. Yeah. So for example, if the vulture is said to be able to see very far distances, hundreds of kilometers into the distance, and be able to see dead bodies and meat and so forth. Yeah. So if it was important, or if it is important to be able to see long distances, then we can go and take the vulture as our teacher, as our spiritual guide, and cultivate that. But you can see, in order for us to generate the mind to Buddhahood, achieve full enlightenment, these things are unnecessary to cultivate. Seeing long distances or seeing very up close, there's really no need. But in order to achieve Buddhahood, then we need to remove ignorance and see the reality. We need to remove attachment, aversion, ignorance, competitiveness, and so on. So the Indian scholars, they would have had an understanding of the energy that would come from the splitting of an atom, for example, but they saw that it was unbeneficial, and they did not write about it. They did not talk about it and share it with others, because they would have understood that it would have been very dangerous, a very dangerous methodology, especially if it was misused by people that have a lot of anger and attachment. So they never spoke about it explicitly. That's what
Thank you, Mare.
that's what
So
if you have any questions, you are welcome to ask them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Final Lamrim dedication. From my two types of merits vast a space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a grand length of time, meditating Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of complete graded paths of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, May I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold the Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined. May I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be grounded boundless peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time. By even this graded path to enlightenment completed, due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtues practices, may he always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. Thank you.